Frankel for CageMinds.com. We're here at Rosales Karate and Kajikembo Kickboxing, a great establishment. We have with us our guest, Dorian Dixon. Thank you for the time, Dorian. You're just coming off of your pro MMA debut, and you're about to be making your pro boxing debut. So first off, how you feeling? How you doing?
I'm feeling great. I try to stay in a constant state of training. I know a lot of fighters will go through camps. I'm just constantly in training, so I can take a fight anytime, and I feel great all the time.
From your MMA fight not that long ago, how long did you take off after that?
I actually was training 2 days after. As long as I don't suffer any injuries and I can continue to train, I continue to train.
You've been in this for a while. You told me a 20-fight amateur career between boxing, kickboxing, MMA, multiple titles. Now that you've completed that phase of your career, how do you look back and assess it?
I look back and see that it was a great learning experience. There were a lot of opportunities I had to take rematches that I didn't, that I wish I had, because it would have increased that number and it would have given me more experience to pull off of. But with those 20 fights and that diverse range of talented fighters that I got to go up against, I feel really confident going into my professional career.
Talk about that. King of the Cage just happened. You and Aaron Pearls, it was both your guys' pro debuts. You had a very strong first round. Ended up that Aaron made a great comeback, got you with the submission. After you looked at the performance, again, how were you able to assess yourself coming away from that fight?
Looking back on it, I see that I allowed a lot of those first fight jitters to get a hold of me. I look back on some of my later amateur fights and I see how my cardio showed, it was very apparent that I could go forever in those fights. And in this last fight, I very obviously burned out after that first round, lost a lot of my arm strength. I let the anxiety of that first fight get to me. But that's not to take away from Aaron Pearls. He was a fantastic fighter. He was very strong, extremely powerful for someone who was supposed to be close to my size. And in that last fight, I was stuck in a position where I had a choice. He was gonna, knock me out if I held on and kept fighting. There was that risk, and I decided I wanted to keep training, so I tapped out so that I could avoid that injury because I didn't see that loss being avoidable. He had me in a really deep stronghold, and I didn't see any way out of it.
Well, so what about the pro debut was it that caught up to you right there, that moment, after all the experience you've had? It was a different fight.
There was more weight to it. I felt like I guess I felt like I had a lot to prove. I've been working towards this for over a decade, and I was finally at that point. It was my moment, and I let that excitement overcome me. So I've learned from that experience, and so this next fight, I hope that I'm going in with a much more level head, much more calm demeanor, and I feel a lot more ready.
How surprising was it to you when those nerves and that anxiety did hit?
It wasn't so surprising. It was reminiscent. It was kind of a nostalgic feeling from my earlier amateur fights, and it was frustrating in that sense more than surprising that I let that happen. But it does happen. So I can move on and I can go from that.
And then was this the plan the whole time, to turn pro in each one of the aspects of martial arts that you've been training in?
It actually was. The hope is, especially now as I'm a younger professional and my career is still taking off, I want that experience. I do this because I love fighting. I love martial arts, and that's my focus. And so when it comes to combat sports like boxing, kickboxing, and MMA, I find joy in it. I enjoy it like some people like playing soccer. And so any opportunity I get to fight, I want to take. Let it be boxing, which is a very fun sport to me, kickboxing, or MMA.
Like we said, you've knocked out the pro MMA debut. Boxing's coming up. Do you have plans for the kickboxing to make a pro debut?
Hopefully someday. The fight opportunities aren't as frequent here in New Mexico. And so as my career continues forward, my name gets out there a little bit more, I'm hoping to catch a kickboxing fight someday. But my focus is on the MMA. The MMA is the closest I'm going to come to actual true martial arts, true fighting, and it is what I enjoy the most. So if a kickboxing fight comes along, I'm more than willing to take it, but my focus is on the MMA.
Any plans on when you're going to get back in the cage then?
Hopefully. I've gotten word that I'm hoping to get into a King of the Cage card in May. I don't have any for sure details, not an opponent, nothing. It's still just hearsay, but I have talked to a promoter who wants to get me on the card in May. I think it's here in Albuquerque. Sure.
So hopefully we'll be seeing you back in the cage. Now, you said you've been doing this for over a decade. When did you start and where did you start?
I started with the American Kempo Karate Academies, AKKA, when I was 7 years old with Bill Packer. And I remember looking up to the kickboxers when I was very little. There's several of my instructors who were in their late teens, were some fantastic kickboxers. And when I turned 12, they finally let me start with that, with AKKA. And eventually when Mr. Bill Packer passed away in the early 2000s, I sought another school, and I tried Jackson's for a period of time when I was in late high school, and when I saw that that wasn't working out for me, I found Rosales', and I've been here since. So it's been about 15 years, actually.
And then, what belts do you hold right now?
American Kempo Karate, I hold a black belt. I hold a blue belt with 4 stripes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I hold a black belt in Kaju Kempo.
With all the varied striking you have, how much adding the wrestling element was hard for you with the MMA aspect? Because you've mentioned the jiu-jitsu, we've heard about the striking. How is the wrestling element added because you don't have that background?
The very first time that I saw that was back in my 4th amateur fight. This was a little bit before I kind of gotten out there. I took an exhibition fight instead of a kickboxing fight against the guy who wanted to do MMA rules. And so that was the very first time I ever tried wrestling with somebody, and it was a complete shock to fight someone who was so much stronger and could pick me up and throw me. Thankfully, my kickboxing instincts kept in and I tore his face up. But as I progressed, the Albuquerque Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy is a fantastic school that's exponentially increased my skills in a short period of time. I competed in the Southwest Grapple Fest, I want to say it was 2 years ago, and as a white belt I got a silver in my division, which I was pleased with, and that was the first time I've ever done any kind of wrestling tournament. So I actually feel that my skills as a wrestler have improved dramatically in that short period of time that I've been training. The competition is still new to me. The way I would explain it is when I was an early kickboxer, there was that excitement, there was that tension because it was all brand new, and then that goes away as you get more comfortable with the feel of striking somebody. It's like that with wrestling. I still get a little tension, I still get a little bit nervous when I grapple with somebody and I know that the fight could hinge on that, but I'm getting better about it. I'm becoming more calm, becoming more in control of my emotions as I wrestle.
With fighting so much, what is your spiritualness to it with fighting? What's your aspect and thoughts on that?
With fighting in general or with the sport?
The sport.
The sport? So my focus is the martial arts, and I see a big distinction in combat sports and actual fighting. I love the combat sports because it's relaxing. It's a way for me to express myself within my arts. And so my focus has always been the martial arts. The sports are more of an outlet. It's a way for me to test my skills and to learn how to apply them in a safe manner without me having to actually go hurt someone. And so, seriously, I mean, you do get hurt seriously in the sport. I don't want to take away from the toughness of the sport, but it's a more controlled environment for me to test my skills and to make sure I actually know how to do what it is that I'm talking about.
You sound like the kind of person that has a greater plan for everything, for what you're learning, for what you're doing. What is that?
From the start, my goal has always been to teach. I do love competing. It's a lot of fun, but my focus has always been that desire to open a gym someday and to teach martial arts specifically. I do also want to offer combat sports. I love boxing and kickboxing specifically. I love the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But that's always been my end goal. The point of the fighting is to get me that experience and to get my name out there so that one day when I open a gym, people know who I am, people know that I do know what I'm talking about, and I know how to do what it is that I'm teaching. And so when I go out there and I teach, I have legitimacy behind me.
So for you, the aspect of an MMA fight is very soothing almost.
It is. It's more that it's a chance for me to use more skills. Boxing, I love boxing, but all I can do is punch. Kickboxing, all I can do is punch and kick. In the MMA, there's such a huge variety of skills that I have to be able, that I have to know, that I have to have control over, that I have to have a certain level of mastery over. That it's a much more fulfilling experience.
So, getting prepared for this boxing fight coming up against Gabriel Lopez. What's it like to almost have to, I guess, would it be slow down your mind or single in? You're not worrying about shots. You're not worrying about legs and knees flying at you.
In a lot of ways, that's more common. I don't have to worry about pretty much anything from the waist down. And it lets me enjoy the sport a little bit more.
Does this also give you more of an opportunity to really concentrate on some defensive things, your footwork and your head movement, because it's a different style of fighting?
One big thing that does work is my footwork, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Especially in boxing, when I'm trying to stay in a very tight area of combat, one big transition I see is as a kickboxer, I'm used to using more space because I want to be able to kick. Where in boxing, that kind of range is not as useful. And so there's a lot of focal skills in learning how to stay tight to an opponent, learning how to be able to dodge instead of move out of the way of a strike. And so it is a sport that forces me to focus on really fine artistic skills. That's the way I do it.
Gabriel Lopez, your opponent, you said you guys met once before in a kickboxing match for a title, but that was 2 years ago. So is there any familiarity you can take away from it, saying you know the guy more than someone you had never ever seen before?
I'm going to be 100% honest, 2 years is a long time to train, especially when you're going from an amateur fight to a professional fight. The smart thing to do, and what I am doing, is I'm going to assume nothing. I'm going to treat him like he's a brand new fighter. I'm going to expect him to be fantastic, extremely skilled, extremely powerful. I'm not going to go in assuming anything.
So with this debut coming up, you've already gotten through the one way in the fight week process, the different amount of rounds. So do you think that process is going to feel any different going from the MMA to the boxing now?
In a lot of ways, the boxing is a little bit easier on my cardio. It's 4 3-minute rounds compared to 3 5-minute rounds. Plus, there's not the cardio strain of having to go to the ground and back up to the feet, and back to the ground and back up to the feet, which is a big strain on your cardio. Being able to stand on my feet and do something that I'm much more comfortable doing, boxing, because I've been doing it for so long, I've actually found the training for it to be a little bit easier. I mean, Professor Rosales is very good at making it not easy, but it's easier than the MMA.
And then also with the training aspects, what's it like have you been just focusing in on the boxing, or have you still been keeping up with your normal routine?
The way I've transitioned it when I'm here at my kickboxing school with Professor Rosales, it's strictly boxing. But when I train with my jiu-jitsu school, which I still do consistently week to week, that's still my jiu-jitsu, still my wrestling, still my MMA and kickboxing skills.
And then after 20 fights in the amateurs, have you figured out the secret for your body, for your weight cut, for your diet?
Oh yeah, definitely. I figured out where I need to stand, where I need to walk around, where I need to be within 2 weeks of a fight, and how exactly I need, when exactly and how exactly I need to cut to make sure I'm at weight. And I would hope that my last several fights where I have been on weight have proven that I've gotten it down pretty well.
So young into your pro career, how valuable of a skill do you feel that to be? Because you'll see in bigger promotions, people still, even at the top levels, have problems maintaining the weight aspect.
As I grow older, my body continues to change. I know that I'm only 21, about to turn 22, and as I get nearer to 25, I'm expecting to continue to grow a little bit. I know that it will change, but thankfully, through my experiences going through health sciences in college here at UNM, I understand the biochemistry of the body enough that I can work with the way my body is going to change. I can manipulate my methods so that I can continue to perform the way I need to perform.
So do you have any different thoughts for this pro debut coming from the last one?
One big thought is I want to enjoy it more. I don't want to let the stress get to me. I very much care about performing well. I want to put on a show. I want to make it so people see me and enjoy seeing me and want to see me again. Where I let the stress get to me in that first fight, that caused me to burn my arms out and to get so tired, I'm going to enjoy this fight a lot more. I'm hoping to be a lot more calm, and I think this fight's going to be a better experience.
What's something that you believe you have to do to come out with the victory?
In this fight, I have to press. I have that tendency to want to wait for the 8 count. I have to push into my opponent. When I see him off balance, when I see him dizzy, when I see that I've hurt him, when I've delivered that powerful strike, I need to follow up. That's the key thing. I have to follow up.
I thank you for the time. It was great getting to know you. I figure there's people that have supported you. Got a message for the fans?
For the fans, I hope you enjoy what you see. I hope that I put on a good show for all of you, and I hope that you continue to come out to watch me and support me in everything that I do.
And I figure there's some other people also you gotta thank.
I've got to thank my family, especially my grandparents, my grandfather in particular, who's always been the guy to bring me to all my fights, to be my behind the stage guy with all my food and drinks and water. My parents, who have always been in the crowd supporting me. And my extended family, who's always given me that support from a distance to keep me going and to keep my spirits up.
Dorian Dixon, keep that name in the memory banks, people.